Good morning, Bahamas. I am Lindsay Thompson of Bahamas Information Services, and we are coming to you live from Bahama Convention Center, where an historic event is happening today, the opening of Parliament, following general election on September 16th. My guest today is former Speaker of the House of Assembly, Dr. Kendall Major, who served from 2012 to 2017. Good morning, Dr. Major, and welcome.
Morning, Lindsay. It's
How
a
are
delight
you?
to be here. I'm fine. This is an exciting time.
I mean,
tell
can you hear that in the back of us?
It's festive. The police band is doing their usual thing, and we're getting ready to really make history here today.
Absolutely, and I saw some of the guests coming in, like Grandma would say, all in their Sunday go to meeting clothes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they deck right out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this should be a lot of fun, but it's a solemn ceremony. It's an
Yes.
important ceremony, and it's a great time in our history to celebrate the new government's not only achievement, but what are their plans for the Bahamian people.
Absolutely. I am sure you have all kinds of memories of your time as Speaker of the House of Assembly. But let's just give an historic view of the Bahamas Parliament.
Sure. Well, 292 years ago, when Governor Woodes Rogers came, and he decided to form a parliament based on the traditions of Westminster in the UK. And from that first parliament, 24 members were selected from New Providence and Harbour Island and Eleuthera. And they met at the home of Samuel Lawson. That was interesting because at the time they met at the homes. But it wasn't until 1815 they moved to the present location, which is number 1 Parliament Square. And they have been in that exact place until now, which is now 205 years later. And so this has been a long tradition. This is the 3rd oldest parliament in the hemisphere.
Absolutely.
And so we have had a tradition of peaceful transitions.
Yes.
And who would have thought this little colony has now survived to become a sovereign state, and we have carried on the traditions of the Westminster system, and now we are now taking it into our own to make our speech from the throne.
That is certainly amazing. Bahamians have to realize that we have a rich democracy,
Yes, we do.
a rich heritage
Yes.
regarding our parliament. And for those of you who are watching and wondering why we are here at Bahama, well, there's been a number of forecasts. Inclement weather has been forecast. Plus, the Churchill building is being demolished.
Yes.
Normally, we would have the opening of Parliament in Rawson and Parliament Squares downtown. But as you can see, based on the number of people here today, Dr. Major,
boy.
Mr. Former Speaker,
Absolutely.
there's no way
No.
we could have pulled it off with the amount of people here today.
I think one of the main reasons why it was decided to bring it here is because of the COVID physical
Absolutely,
distancing
yes.
principle.
Yes.
And to invite this many persons in an environment, only the convention center could accommodate this many persons.
Yes.
And so also 39 members cannot attend
Right.
the House of Assembly in its present location with the press and with their families. So it would have been impossible to do it at its usual place. And of course, as you mentioned, the demolition of the Churchill
Yes.
building. So Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham in his past coined the phrase government in the sunshine in
Yes.
1992. And that was different, that was unique. Before then, it was in the Senate building actually.
Yes, uh-huh.
Because these precincts, this precinct that we see behind me is actually the Parliament. It is the precincts of the Senate. And so they have been able to construct and add and build a Senate precinct
Absolutely,
here at
yes.
Bahama.
Yes,
So it's been a lot of work being done here.
Absolutely. As you
Yeah.
saw when we did a tour,
Yeah.
the House of Assembly is physically here.
Yeah, exactly.
The Senate is physically here.
That is correct.
And this room where we are,
Yeah.
the speech from the throne will be read.
That is correct.
Let's just go back into more of Parliament. Actually, Queen Elizabeth II has been our leader since February 6, 1952.
Right.
And now we have a Governor General since independence. And so the Most Honorable Sir Sir Cornelius
yes,
A. Smith.
Yes.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is a mouthful.
Okay, he's been our Governor General since 2019. And so we have this tradition where we've been keeping it since 1952.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
That is a long time. And the Bahamas has a rich tradition. And there are those who debate whether we should be a republic, and there are pros and cons each way. But for right now, we are proud of our tradition, we're proud of our history, and we're proud of our sovereignty. And so it is just a delight that although the Queen is not here, her representative is here.
Yes.
And that is in the name of Most Honorable Cornelius A. Smith. And he will serve as the Governor General, and in essence he will preside over these proceedings.
Yes.
Because we would be seeing the House in its own element, the Senate with its own element, and then we would come together in a wider body of the Senate and have the speech from the throne, of which, of course, he will read.
Now let's just tell the public both chambers,
Sure.
the House of Assembly and the Senate. What are they made out of? How many members in each chamber?
Sure. The House is made up of 39 members elected by the people. And what you would see today in the House, just before the speech from the throne, is an official election of a Speaker and Deputy Speaker. And that will be preceded by the Parliamentary Commissioner bringing the writ of returns from election. And he would give them, authenticate essentially who are the official winners. Those members will be sworn in, and the Speaker will be sworn in, and the Honourable Speaker will give a maiden speech, to kind of set the stage as to what her tenure would be like. And interestingly enough, that the same thing will be happening in the Senate.
Yes.
The President of the Senate, which is 16 members, 9 from the nominated by the Prime Minister, 3 in conjunction with the Leader of the Opposition, and 4 by the Leader of the Opposition outright. So those persons will be in place, and they will then come together. The Governor General will request the audience of the House members to meet him in Parliament Square, which would be the precincts of the Senate.
Right.
And the Prime Minister will then present the Most Honorable Cornelius A. Smith, the Governor General, with the speech from the throne. He will read it, and as we know, that will outline all of the plans and objectives and policies of this new government, which they have coined a new day.
Now share some of us. Recently, Parliament has been, live proceedings. The entire public, even the world, it can tune in to see what's going on in the Bahamas Parliament. As a former Speaker of the House of Assembly, just tell us a bit about the proceedings and the workings of the House of Assembly specifically.
Sure. Well, the proceedings of the House is live, and that's an important feature because it is important that verbatim all of the work of the House is recorded, and that is called the Hansard.
Yes.
And there's an editor of the Hansard that records verbatim, on record, from 1729, all of the work. It's written down and it's recorded of all of the utterances of the members of Parliament. And so that is an important part of Parliament. The focal point of the Parliament is essentially the Speaker. The Speaker commands the authority, the Speaker presides, the Speaker has a judicial function, the Speaker has a ceremonial function, and the Speaker, the Parliament has an oversight function. And it is important for that Speaker to preside with dignity, with honor, and it's a representative of fair play, so that each member can feel like they can count on the Speaker to have their say. Of course, the majority will have their way, and the opposition will have their say. And it's important that the Speaker sets the framework, sets the environment. The most important task of Parliament, though, is to pass bills.
Yes.
And to make law, and to make law that governs us, and through those laws, policies are presented. And so each parliamentarian represents the people. They represent you and I. We voted in a district and we selected a member, and that member comes to the House and they represent us. And so the Parliament represents the people.
Now we're hearing the possibility of a female speaker of the House of Assembly. We had a former speaker in the presence of Italia Johnson.
That's correct.
This would further cement the role women can play in our democratic process.
No question about it, Lindsay. I think this election really, crystallized the amount of women and the openness and the talent of women's involvement in political life. This has been an unprecedented amount of nominations for women. I mean, we've had over 200 and something
elected from
we've had over 200
Party.
and something women persons who nominated for office, and 7 members were elected. And in that 7,
impressive.
there's at least 4 or 5 in the cabinet, and now we're going to have, for the first time, I believe in history, a Speaker of the House who's a woman and a President of the Senate who's a woman. That is unprecedented.
There's hope for me yet.
There is hope
Absolutely.
for me. And there's hope for my daughter, my 2 daughters.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is really all about. It should inspire them. And also, I might add, not only women, young people. This election was about young people. If you look at the cabinet, you look at the Speaker, you look at the President of the Senate, and the Vice President to be, these are all young people. And so there's a place for young people in this country. It is still wide open and opportunities abound.
When you look at the number of women offering for office, and the 2 chambers, possibly 2 women, we've come a long way from the suffragist movement, women earning the right to vote. Can you put that in context into the 21st century?
Well, I believe the great heroine of our past was Dr. Doris Johnson.
Absolutely.
Who, when she entered Parliament, and she was the Senate President, and she served so many roles in government, she made a significant impact in our history. And I remember she gave a speech at the bar of the House that spoke to the plight of the women's suffrage movement, and she epitomized what that movement was about. One person, one vote, and the opportunity for women to be involved in public life. And so her and other great heroines of the past, they really played an instrumental role in doing so, and the landscape has certainly changed.
Yeah, I feel so good this morning. I have a footnote here on Dame Dr. Joris Sands Johnson.
Okay, get it right.
She was a Bahamian teacher, suffragette, and politician.
Yes.
She was the first Bahamian woman to contest an election in the Bahamas. Can you imagine? That's
the boldness,
fantastic.
the courage.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
She was the first female Senate appointee, and the first woman granted a leadership role in the Senate. She was made a dame by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, and she was also the first woman to serve as acting Governor General of the Bahamas.
Yes.
She has done it all.
She's been a trailblazer. She is really, really a pioneer. She's paved the way, and from that point on, Rubian Darling, first woman to register to vote.
Yes.
She became, and then we have Janet Boswick, first woman elected in the Senate, or elected to Parliament in '72.
Yes.
She came along. Rome and Talia Johnson, first female speaker in '97. We have been making, and of course, who could forget the Deputy Prime Minister, Cynthia Mother Pratt, who became acting Prime Minister when the Honourable Perry Christie at the time suffered. Dame Ivy, first Governor General. So we are, there's a long way to go, but we are making strides. And I think today is a leap. Today is a leap to see the amount of women involved and the amount of young people involved. I am so encouraged and excited for the women of our country.
And even now, our cabinet has 5 women, I think. That's impressive.
Yes.
So obviously, women, we have something to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
And it says something about our man in leadership.
Yes.
Of course, the Prime Minister, I'm sure he took that into consideration when 7 candidates were returned in the general elections, won their seats. I'm sure he's pleased about that.
I think I also want to put a plug in for the leader of the opposition. He and his council also selected 2 women to the Senate.
To the Senate,
Out of
absolutely.
4 choices,
Yes, how can we forget
two
that?
2 are women.
Absolutely.
And so again, it's catching on.
Yeah. Well, it's a new day for women as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let's go through what's going to happen at 10 o'clock.
All right.
Starting
yes.
at 10, members-elect will assemble excuse me, in their place in the chamber of the precincts of the House of Assembly at the Convention Center. So as we told you earlier, this Convention Center has been transformed into Speech from the Throne area, the House of Assembly and the Senate, all here at the Bahama Convention Center.
Yes.
So members will assemble in their respective chambers and they will get down to business.
Yes.
They will elect
Yes.
a Speaker of the House, will nominate.
The Senate, yes, will nominate, and the Senate will be doing the same thing. And when the House proceedings will, after the Speaker is elected, the Speaker will then give a speech, her maiden speech. From that time, she will then ask for nominations for a Deputy Speaker elect. He will be chosen and voted upon. And afterwards, her first duty will be to form a committee of 3 persons. 2 persons from the government side and 2 from the opposition to seek an audience with the Governor General.
Sorry to cut you off.
Sure.
I think they've started the proceedings.
Okay.
So let's let the public view what's happening in the Senate. Okay, we'll be back.
Someone's coming right now.
Good morning again, Bahamas. We're coming to you live from Bahama Convention Center for the historic opening of a new parliament. And I'm here with former Speaker of the House of Assembly, Dr. Kendall Major. Right now, we have proceedings going on in the chambers. Dr. Major, sorry. Can you tell us what's happening now in the House of Assembly?
Yeah, this is again the interesting and solemn and important task of what's happening in Parliament. the members of the House and the Senate are being sworn in. And so each members are meeting with the clerks, and they have a book to sign, they have a Bible, and they're now taking the oath of allegiance and the oath of qualification. Those members who do not want to swear allegiance can make an affirmation, and that's also possible. So they've gone through that very tedious but very important exercise, because they have to be sworn in to be authenticated and be regarded as legit.
What does taking an oath mean? How sacred is that?
That's a great question. If it follows the tone and tenets of what an oath really is, it is critically important. It is almost covenantal. It's a covenant of biblical proportions. It's important that honorable members see it that way. If we do, then I believe we will continue we would have the kind of leadership that Bahamians can be proud of, because they would take the duty and the responsibility of being a member of Parliament extremely seriously. So an oath is critically important.
Now, I know there are rules and regulations. They take an oath to uphold, the Queen's legacy or orders, and for the Bahamian people. What happens when they circumvent that or go against what they've taken or what they've sworn to uphold?
Exactly, and see that is exactly why I said it is a personal responsibility that it's supposed to be inherent in the individual, their own moral code. Because if they violate that code, then they just have to live with themselves. If they, of course, break the law, then they could be subject to fines or punishment. But that's another matter.
Yes.
But generally, it depends on the personal integrity of the individual, and so that oath is important. That oath is not necessarily to honor the Queen or the monarch. That oath is essentially that you would follow the principles of the system of which we are part of. And if we conduct ourselves accordingly, certainly we will have good leaders who would do exactly what they should be doing.
So now we're seeing members of Parliament taking their oath, we just spoke about.
And each of them are taking the oath of allegiance and oath of qualification. And after that is done, they will take their respective places in the chamber, and then the next duty would be to elect a speaker. And now
that process, take us through that process. Is it someone the majority approve of? How is the speaker selected? Take us through that process again.
That's a great question. In the tradition of Westminster, it should be an individual who the majority or and in fact, not only the majority, a consensus of the entire body should approve of. And that is important because the speaker should deserve and receive the respect of all, not just one side versus the next, one individual or the next. So it's important that the speaker commands the respect of all. In our system today, the person is nominated by the Prime Minister, and then it is expected that the name is circulated throughout the entire membership of the 39 members, and there's a concurrence that they are duly worthy of being bestowed the higher office of Speaker. And so it should not be a competition, or it shouldn't be dissent. Of course, in the West, in England, there's dissent and there's competition, and so speakers actually compete, and it's a runoff. It's an election for Speaker in the House of Commons.
All right, thank you. We'll take a break and we'll be back.
You went to the house with it? you enter this proceeding a little bit now.
Okay.
Okay? So Lindsay, just watch me.
Okay.
So just like we go into these different segments, okay?
Yeah, because all of a sudden, hey,
Corrected. Okay.
I, Blaine Roosevelt Monroe, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
I, Ronald
heirs-
Cranston
heirs
Duncan,
and successors
do swear that I will
according to law,
faithful
so help me God.
and bear the true allegiance to Her Majesty's Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to the law, so help me God.
members, as you take your oath, you can sit down.
It don't matter. The truth be the truth. You ready?
I, Ronald Cranston Duncan, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause of impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the Senate of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution, or any enactment amending the same, so help me God.
You only sign on top of my name. I, Mario Keith Bolle, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Are you swearing or affirming this?
I affirm. One and zero. So what do I do? Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Proceed. I, Vaughn Peterson Miller, do affirm that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and the true meaning of the Constitution.
Morning again and welcome back. This is Lindsay Thompson from Bahamas Information Services. I am here with former Speaker of the House of Assembly, Dr. Kendall Major, and we're coming to you live from Bahama Convention Center, where an historic day is happening, the opening of a new parliament following general election. Now, we just heard proceedings from the Senate. What's the difference between taking the oath and affirmation?
Those are persons who decide, Lindsay, to take the affirmations are those on principle that feel strongly that they ought not associate themselves with the monarchy. And so that's just a personal decision that you could affirm, not necessarily using the monarchy or in some cases even the Bible. So just it's a personal decision. It's traditional. We would just follow the tradition and take the oath of allegiance and the oath of qualifications with the Bible, because that's tradition. Now, whether that translates to a mindset
Yes.
of who you are.
Yeah, I was about to say, because we're a Christian nation,
exactly,
and some people would, scoff at that, well, what is that?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't believe in God,
Exactly.
but that's not necessarily the
Not
case.
necessarily the case. When I was sworn in, I did it the traditional way. It crossed my mind because there are views one way or the other about a republic or not. But those who swear allegiance and take the oath of allegiance and oath of qualification don't necessarily, they are just as nationalistic as those
As
who
we
take
are.
the
Now let's go through our list of senators. We have Ronald Duncan, Terrell Young, James Roll Turner, Kirtland Russell, Michael Halkidas, Dr. Erica Hepburn, Ryan Pinder, Michelle Adderley, Barry Griffin, Quentin Lightbourne, Randy Rowe, Derek Pickstaw, Darren Henfield, Ruben Ramming, Maxine Seymour, Biana Gardner. Now, some of these names sound familiar.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind when I see those names is youth. This has to be the youngest Senate, a cadre of senators to be ever assembled. And here's why that's interesting. Because traditionally the Senate has always been a senior, a place for senior statesmen.
Yes, absolutely. I remember my journalism days covering the Senate.
And that's based on the history of why the Senate was there.
Yes.
In terms of the history of Parliament, the Parliament actually evolved from the Senate.
Yes.
And it was determined that at some point, I think it was in 1841, when they were separated and into a lower house and an upper house. And the lower house really just gained its prominence in the 60s in ministerial government and in political parties.
So put that in context for us. We have a cadre of young and not so young in the upper chamber.
Yes, that is interesting. So they are matured, they are extremely intelligent, and these are hardworking young people, very educated. Another thing that I've noticed is most of them are persons who ran and lost their seat. And obviously are talented individuals. And of course, there's a large cadre of women again. And so how this plays out in the context of the debate on how the debate ought to function, it would be very interesting to see that. How this plays out. So I will be looking very, very closely at how this plays out because, the leaders of the Senate would be two senior persons in Honorable Ryan Pinder, the Attorney General, and Michael Halkidas.
Yeah, this is they've been around the block a few times.
They've done this rodeo before, so they know of the proceedings extremely well, and they would certainly be tutoring and mentoring the others. But it's and Darren Henfield, who's a former cabinet minister.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ruben Ramming, of course, who was in the last administration. Everybody else is brand new. And so I'm excited to see what's going to come of it.
What's coming out of it, absolutely.
This is different. I know the Prime Minister made this statement. He said, because of the complexity of our problems, he needs all hands on deck. Well, all hands are on deck.
Definitely. Now tell me something. It appears to be a toss-up between which is more prominent, the House of Assembly or the Senate. We understand that the Senate is the upper chamber and the House of Assembly is the lower chamber. But for some reason, it is seen as if the House of Assembly is more prestigious than the Senate. Why do you think that exists?
That happened because over the years, with the development of political parties and the development of ministers coming out of the lower chamber, the minister he's a part of the executive. So it's somewhat of a merging that in some way it violates the principle of separation of powers. But but that's because you have a minister and then you're a member of the House, and so the minister has the authority, and so persons follow where the authority lies. But in terms of prestige, the Senate is first and considered in precedence and considered more prestigious. And as I mentioned before, they tend to have been the older, more seasoned, accomplished individuals. But in this, this is a new day. It's differently done today.
Now, the House of Assembly is getting a lot of attention right now. The members of Parliament are being sworn in. Take us through that process.
They it's a lot of swearing in to be done because there are 38 members that will be sworn in. Or 39, and then the Speaker, of course, will be sworn in. And so it's a tremendous, again, a lot of new faces, and very seasoned cabinet, but a lot of new faces.
Well, let's go through some of these names. Bain and Grantstown, Wade, Alexander Watson.
Yes, a newcomer to politics.
Patricia Ann DeVoe.
Patricia DeVoe, who will become Madam Speaker in Bamboo Town. Looking
Keith
forward
Bell,
to
he's taking his oath of office
Keith
right
Bell
now.
is now, Honorable Keith Bell is now Minister of
Former
Immigration.
police officer,
Former
now
police
Minister of
officer,
Immigration.
Also an attorney, and so he's well suited for the task at hand.
Jomo Shaka Campbell.
Jomo I'm excited for Jomo. Jomo has been an outstanding attorney, and he has worked hard in Centerville, and he's now in the office of he's now in the Attorney General's office and Minister of Legal Affairs, Minister of State for Legal Affairs, and so I'm excited to see what Jomo is gonna do. He's smart, and I think he'll do very well.
Okay, we'll take another break and we'll be back.
The Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same. So help me God. I, Zane Enrico Lightborn, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Ready?
Swear. Affirm.
Yeah, I swear. I, Sylvanus Petty, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution, the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same. So help me God. I, Sylvanus Petty, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Thank you. Swearing or affirming?
Swearing. I, Miles Kentworth Laroda, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act.
Thompson from Bahamas Information Services, coming to you live from Bahama Convention Center, where it's a new day. The opening of Parliament is taking place. And here with me is Dr. Kendall Major, former Speaker of the House of Assembly. Right now, the House of Assembly, the members of Parliament are taking their oath of office. Dr. Major, we were just going through some of these names. We have some newbies, and we have some veterans,
Yes,
and we
we
have
do.
some in the middle who've
Yes.
probably been around once or twice.
Yes.
We were at
Yes,
Jo Beth
Colby
Davis.
Very, very exciting, tough campaigner, great lawyer. She was actually my lawyer
Yes,
for
for
my
Elizabeth.
campaign,
She's
for Elizabeth.
MP for Elizabeth
Yeah,
now.
and she's now a minister in the cabinet, and I think she will do extremely well. She is a firebrand. I think
Yes, she was one of those strong,
yeah, she's strong. Yes.
candidates, sure of herself,
Absolutely.
assertive.
Exactly. And she served in the Senate
Yes, she
in
did.
the last iteration, and she is extremely intelligent. I think she's going to be a great asset to the cabinet. And of course, the venerable Glenys Hanna Martin.
I mean, what can we say about Mrs. Hanna Martin? Such a legacy she has on her shoulders.
Absolutely. She's what I call a chip off the old block.
Absolutely.
From her father.
Yes.
And,
the late Arthur Dion Hanna, who just
former
passed.
Governor General, who just passed. In fact, I teased her and I said to myself, she will win with the largest margin than anybody. And you know what? She did.
Yes.
And she's beloved and she's done well. And I think it needs, Ministry of Education needs someone like Glenys Hanna Martin.
Yeah, let's just stick a pin right there. My recollection of the late A.D. Hanna was when I, as a young reporter, and I went to the House of Assembly. He was, I think he was the government's whip, or opposition whip at the time. And every debate, every row, as we called it, Arthur Dion Hanna was the headline. Never failed. He was an agitator. He was a fighter, and he coined the phrase Bohemianization, and that was true to his core.
Yes.
And every time he spoke, that is what he spoke about, and that's what he fought for. And so whenever you saw him in Parliament, it was, and his daughter. Whenever I see her get up, Mrs. Hanna Martin, the same favor, the same passion, the same aggression, but in a nice way, because she believes. She believed in the cause, and she believed in what her father stood for, and she believed in Bahamians and this Bahamas. And so it's good to have her back. Alfred Sayers.
He's just a great communicator and extremely talented. He served under the first PLP administration as the Attorney General and Minister of Education. And so to put him in works now, he's no nonsense, he's disciplined, highly intellectual, and a visionary. So he is someone good to have around you in times of crisis. And so I think he's going to do well.
Storm.
He's a quiet storm indeed.
His disposition is so mild-mannered, but when he opens his mouth,
it's powerful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
of course, Fred Mitchell, who celebrated his 68th birthday just a day or two ago, and he lives for moments like this. He wants to serve, and when the Progressive Liberal Party lost in 2012. I remember his response was, "We lost. Let's get back to work. Put on our pants and shoes and dress and get back to work, and 5 years will come fast."
Well, we know that as Member of Parliament for Fox Hill, his name is synonymous with Fox Hill. When you hear Fox Hill, you automatically
Fred Mitchell.
Fred Mitchell, Member of Parliament. And even when he lost a few times, he was still in Fox Hill. Can you tell us how a Member of Parliament parlay their election promises or campaign into actually serving in that constituency?
That is one of the most important tasks of a Member of Parliament, and you'll only be governed by that, by the people. And that is, you have to find the time, make the time, carve out the time, discipline yourself that you're going to stay close to your people. That means constituency meetings, that means going to your constituency office, that means programs, that means speaking for them, supporting them, assisting them in many ways. And it's a difficult task, especially for a cabinet minister, because their job is full-time. But yet, the constituency, Fred Mitchell epitomizes what a Gill MP is like. He is always in his constituency. He's there. He goes to church with them. He goes to funerals with them. He goes to weddings. He is there supporting, and I am certain he will certainly do well again.
Now, Mario Keith Bolle for Garden Hills, your old stomping ground, as it were.
I supported him. I endorsed him. I thought he was well suited for the post. He's a Garden Hills boy. He grew up there. He knows the people. He ran a good campaign. The Garden Hills crew is a solid crew of campaigners, and I think he will continue. He will certainly do well. He is a former coach, and he's a mentor. He is a
People's person, so
basketball
he can garner the young people.
federation president for basketball.
Oh, absolutely.
So he has the experience with people. He'll do well in youth sports and culture, and he has some plans. So I'm excited about Mario Boleg.
And now we have Pia T. Glover
Pia
Roll
Glover.
for Golden Gates.
Yes. Pia is also an outstanding personality.
Yes,
she
she
is a
is.
businesswoman. She has done well for herself and her family. She came from a great family.
Yes.
She has stature. She's proud, and
Yes.
she's extremely intelligent. And I think she'll come into her own. I like Pia for that post, and I think she'll do extremely well. So this is a good cadre of members that are elected, and
39 seats.
39 seats, and then the Grand Bahama crew, the Mikel Barnaby and Mount Moriah. So yeah, and many more. Yeah, many more.
All right, so we'll take another break and we'll be back.
I, Pia Glover Roll, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same. So help me God. I, Pia Glover Roll, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Thank you, madam. Take your seat. Mr. Lundy?
I, Leon Edward Lundy, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenure or true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same. So help me God. I, Leon Edward Lundy, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, I swear.
I, Adrian Paul Gibson, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections
And we're back. Welcome to Bahama Convention Center. I am Lindsay Thompson from Bahamas Information Services, and we're coming to you live on this historic day, the opening of a new parliament. Our guest, Dr. Kendall Major, former Speaker of the House of Assembly. Welcome back, Dr. Major.
Thank you. I'm enjoying this. This is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of people.
Absolutely. And we have to go through all 39. The members of Parliament are being sworn in and taking the oath of office in chambers. And this is certainly a task, I would imagine, to have 39 members of Parliament being sworn in. But for you, the public, we were just looking through this long list of members of Parliament. Some are new, some are older, and some have more experience than others. Dr. Major, we were talking about Pierre Glover Roll, who just took her oath of office.
Yes.
Vaughn Miller, Golden Isles.
Yes. Vaughn Miller, he's now the Minister of the Environment.
Yes.
And Natural Resources.
Yes.
So that is interesting. He's been an advocate. He's always talking about making the wealth of the Bahamas common. And of course, he's had a very interesting political experience so far, but he is now a member of the Progressive Liberal Party. He's won legitimately, and I think Honorable Vaughn will serve extremely well. He's a member of the cabinet, and I look forward to seeing, particularly in natural resources, what the speech of the throne speaks to.
But that's been a raging debate lately.
Talking
about aragonite, and talking about our fisheries, our marine resources, and how Bahamas can further tap into those resources. And we have to get back to or start to feeding ourselves more than we do now. And so he's been passionate, as you said. So let's wait and see what speech from the throne will speak to it, and how the government will roll out how Bahamas on the whole can benefit from these natural resources. Now, returning to Parliament is former Prime Minister Hubert Minnis for Kalani.
Yes.
Can we put that in perspective? He was just Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
Now he's leader of the opposition.
Yeah, he has an interesting role to play here, because there's some internal politics that he has to fend off and deal with. And then in the House, he is the official leader of the opposition, and he would have to defend his record. He would be the only senior person. Everybody, and Michael Pintard, of course, and Shannon Dawn Cartwright, and so he would have to defend his record, and the Bahamian people who have spoken very, very strongly has given him a cause for reflection on what he thought he was doing well, but in the big picture, what happened. And so that question has to be answered. And so
Mr. Former Speaker, what is the role of the official opposition in Parliament? We have 7 FNMs who make up the opposition. What is their role?
Their role is not necessarily just to oppose, but their role is to represent another view, which is particularly half of the population or thereabout, or a large segment of the population. And so they are to scrutinize the government's agenda and its laws, its policies, and speak for another segment of the population. And so they are there to agitate. They are there to, they have to agree to disagree. And that's quite an order, that they are there to disagree. And that's, again, the important role of the Speaker, to allow them to disagree without being disagreeable. And so that's an important balancing act. I expect the Honorable Hubert Minnis to be in an attack mode, because he will expect darts to fly, and he will want to defend his record. And so, as they say, they can gang him, and he has to fight back. And so he will speak to that record, and the Bahamian people will be the adjudicator of what that all means.
Okay, and we just heard Alfred Sears being sworn in. We spoke about him already, and there he is.
Happy for Alfred. just a decent gentleman and a tremendous leader. And he will certainly do well in the ministry works.
In your experience, what do you do when you're not re-elected? What do you do once you get out of the halls of Parliament?
I heard Dr. Dwayne Sands say something about that on a talk show yesterday, and he said he's happy he still has a day job. Okay. And so you go back to your day job if you have one. If you don't have a day job, well, you should find one. Okay.
That's a good point. That's encouraging as well. Okay, we have 39 members of Parliament to be sworn in. It's a task this morning. Members of the public, if you're viewing, members of Parliament are being sworn in this morning. They're taking their oath of office, and there's 39 of them. So it's a process this morning as opposed to the Senate, where there was only 16. Okay, we have some more before us. Lisa Ramming from Marathon.
Another outstanding advocate. She's a fighter, she's a worker, she's a lawyer, she's a former police officer.
Yes.
She's a community leader. She represents Marathon. I grew up in Marathon. My mother lives in Marathon. I know Marathon. That's a task she has, but she'll do well.
We're looking forward to see what she's going to bring.
Absolutely.
So we'll take a break and we'll be back.
We pray for the President of the Senate and all members that have been appointed to serve, that they will serve with dignity and honor. We ask also, our Father, that they will seek your guidance and direction. I'll get it. As they serve this honorable chamber. It is our prayer, O God, that you will guide them and direct them in the way that they should go. We realize that it is not by accident that we are here today, but it's because of your divine guidance, and so for this we give you thanks. Father, as we begin this new session, I ask that your Holy Spirit will be their guide. Let them not forget their purpose, and that it is to put our people first. Service is the watchword. In the words of a famous song, I ask that you lead and guide them in the way that they should go. Bless them as they deliberate this morning. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Good morning, and God bless you in your deliverance today.
That I have no knowledge of any cause of impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same, so help me God. I, Michael Ronald Darville, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law, so help me God. Thank you so much.
Good,
I, John Herbert Wellington Pinder II, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same. So help me God. I, John Herbert Wellington Pinder II, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law, so help me God.
I, Clay Glenford Sweeting, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, or any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same, so help me God. I, Clay Glenford Sweeting, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law, so help me God.
Thank you.
I, Obadiah Hercules Wilshcombe, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and the true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same, so help me God. I, Obadiah Hercules Wilshcombe, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law, so help me God.
Good morning, Sharon. Hello. How you doing?
I, Glennis Margaret Elaine Hannah Martin, do swear that I have no knowledge of any cause or impediment why I am not capable of sitting and voting as a member of the House of Assembly of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same. So help me God.
What that means and who reads it. I'll just give you a little background before I bring in Dr. Major. Speech from the throne opens every new session of Parliament. The speech introduces the government's directions, its platforms.
I,
its goals
Glennis
for the
Margaret
ensuing
Elaine
term.
Hannah Martin,
When a session
do
is
swear
open,
that I will be
the address sets
faithful
forth
and
the
bear true
government's
allegiance to Her
agenda.
Majesty
We've been
Queen
carrying
Elizabeth
through
II,
the
her heirs and
political
successors
campaign.
according to law.
The
So
present
help me God.
government, the PLP, their platform, what they'll be focusing on. Now, all of that is transformed into a speech from the throne, and Dr. Major will tell us more about that, how that will translate into realization of the PLP's goals as they continue to govern.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And again, wonderful experience here today. The speech from the throne is read by the Governor General, Cornelius Smith. And he essentially reads what is granted to him by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. And as you rightly read, it speaks to the agenda. But more importantly, it speaks to the priority of the new government, what to focus on and where they're gonna, what are their next 100 days are gonna be like, what is the next 3 months to 6 months gonna be like. We expect them the speech from the throne to articulate what's gonna happen in Grand Bahama.
Yes.
What's gonna happen with the COVID.
Rebuilding after Hurricane Dorian.
Of hurricane, absolutely. What's going to happen with the health visa or the COVID, and what's going to happen with the economy?
Yes,
with respect to reduction of VAT to 10%. What priority is that going to be given? That's what the Bahamian people want to hear. How is it going to affect my pocketbook, my education, the economy, my job, and the way I conduct myself in my country? So this is an important speech. From that speech, the members of the House will return to their precincts and they will set a date and they will accept that speech. They will, by resolution, determine that they will vote. They will debate that speech. And so you would hear over the next few weeks, each member speak to the contents of the speech from the throne and how they, as leaders and members of this team, how this is going to play out, how it's going to be enacted, and how policies will be produced and designed in order to bring relief to the Bahamian people. We need relief, and people want to hear the good news.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, His Excellency Sir Cornelius A. Smith will read the speech from the throne, and as we said, he will outline the government's plans, policies for the ensuing year, or for at least for the next 5 years. And but we have seen, in essence, the speech from the throne already unraveling. They hit the ground running. Various cabinet ministers have been looking at their portfolios in real terms. They've been visiting the hospitals, the Minister of Health and Wellness. He went to all the medical centers, and he's been looking at the COVID units. He's been flying the Family Islands, so he's got the clinics. Minister of National Security, they've been at the prisons, they've been at the Defense Force. And we've had a number of cabinet ministers already working. And so they have already started to unravel the speech from the throne, even though it's a secret speech. But we've seen the government in action already. And so that certainly is an indication to come of what Bahamian people will expect from the government as they
of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, or for any constituency within the same, according to the tenor and true meaning of the Constitution and the Parliamentary Elections Act, or any enactment amending or replacing the same. So help me God. Those are the details. Yeah, those are the details. That's what I was saying. I, Philip Edward Brave Davis, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God. I had to say that. I had to say that. So let's move then. Yeah.
Has been research and development, so to speak. They have, the honeymoon period is short.
Oh, absolutely.
By now, the Bahamian people are expecting, okay, you've done your homework, you've done your research, you've seen what's there, you've seen how much we have or we don't have and what we need.
Yes.
The speech from the throne should be direct, policy-driven.
Absolutely.
Not just a vision, but more towards following the vision, but more towards policy, direct policy as to how am I going. What are you going to do?
Yes, yes.
Not what do you think and what you feel. What are you going to do to make a difference in the lives of the Bahamian people? And that's what we expect to hear today.
And not only that, Prime Minister Davis, when he appointed his full cabinet, he says all hands are on deck.
Yes.
So we know the speech from the throne will reflect the cabinet, the appointees. The speech from the throne will reflect the all hands on deck approach. Because he said there's lots to do, lots to be done. So we know that the speech from the throne will definitely speak to this, his broad agenda, what he intends to do, and how the Bahamian people will be impacted. And that's a wrap. We'll be back. Thank you.
Governor General proclaimed that the next session of Parliament should be held in the city of Nassau. At 10 a.m. in the forenoon, and whereas it is not convenient to convene the next session of Parliament in the city of Nassau as proclaimed in the said proclamation, now therefore I, Cornelius A. Smith, Governor General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, do hereby proclaim that the next session of Parliament shall be held at the premises known as Bahama in the Western District of the island of New Providence outside the city of Nassau on Wednesday the 6th day of October 2021 and shall commence at 10 a.m. in the forenoon, given under my hand and public seal of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in the city of Nassau, 4th day of October in the year of our Lord, 2021, and in the 69th reign of Her Majesty's reign. Governor General, God save the Queen.
Senator Barry Griffin on being elected the Vice President of the Senate. I shall now invite you to bring brief remarks.
Thank you, Madam President. Honorable Senators, I thank Almighty God for His grace and His mercy. I thank my family and friends for their love and support. And I thank the Prime Minister for his confidence in me. I stand here today extremely humbled by your show of trust in electing me to serve as your Vice President, a role that helps guide the agenda of this most sacred upper house. The historic nature of my election as the youngest person to hold this role does not escape me. As our country seeks a new day of bold ideas, sharp vision, and modern solutions, my election is a testament to this government's commitment to ensuring that young people have a meaningful seat at the table. I accept the Vice Presidency in the spirit of partnership, and I look forward to working with each of you, my Senate colleagues, on behalf of the Bahamian people. In this upper chamber, we may belong to different parties, but we serve one country. We stand united in our pride and prayers for every man, woman, and child born to this Commonwealth. We, in this House, must work together to build a future that includes all Bahamians. Today, As we open this new legislative session, let us model the character, courage, and civility of former members of this House, such as Dame Doris Johnson, who was at the front lines in the fight for the very existence of this Parliament. Let us honor her memory and all those who came before us, not just in eulogy, but in dialogue and trust across the aisle. In our collective spirit to move our country to better and to use the power of our pen to bring more possibilities and prosperity to our Bahamian people. With today's convening of the Senate, we begin anew. I congratulate all members of the lower house on their election and all members of this upper house on their appointment. I especially want to congratulate our new members of our joint houses of parliament. The genius of our founding fathers was that at least every 5 years, new members bring to our houses of parliament their spirit of renewal and hope for the Bahamian people. This Senate is reinvigorated by its new members, by their optimism, their idealism, and their commitment to our country. Each of us brings our shared values, our commitment to the Constitution, and our personal experiences. My path to the Senate began in 1953, when my grandfather, William Griffin, an Andres man, decided that he wanted to live in a better Bahamas. He became the 6th ordinary person to join the newly formed Progressive Liberal Party. Like so many in his generation, he wanted more for himself and for others who would follow. Because of his legacy, I was raised in a family that is deeply patriotic and staunchly progressive. My grandparents and parents taught me that public service was a noble calling, and that we had a responsibility to help build our country for the better and to help forge a path for others to do the same. I have no doubt that my grandfather is looking down on me today, beaming with pride. The election of 2021 will be remembered as a call to change, not merely to change control of government, but for a new direction for our country. On behalf of my Senate colleagues, I promise you, the Bahamian people, that we will work together to build a strong, dynamic, visible, and resolute Senate. We will take seriously our duties to scrutinize all bills before Parliament and to only act in the best interests of you, the Bahamian people. The vision of our forefathers has sustained us for over 48 years, and it accounts for what is best in our great nation: liberty, opportunity, and a fair chance for all. A new day has dawned, and now it is our responsibility to build upon that vision. To my parliamentary colleagues, we have made history. Now, let us make progress for the Bahamian people. May God bless our work, and may God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you, Madam President.
I will now appoint the following members to be a committee to wait on His Excellency, the Governor General. Senator the Honorable Darren Pickstock, Chairman. Senator the Honorable Kirkland Russell. Senator the Honorable Maxine Seymour. You will inform His Excellency that the Senate has proceeded to the election of its President, and I, Julie Lachelle Adderley, have been so elected.
We women raise our hearts and heads to loftier things. Our willingness and readiness to participate as full citizens in the affairs of our country. We women are ready, willing, and able. You must no longer deny us our rights." End quote. That right to vote was won and exercised for the first time ever when women went to the polls in November 1962. Doris Johnson would go on to become the first woman ever to seek election to this House, the first woman to lead the Senate, and the first woman to serve in cabinet. But it was all of 20 years later before a woman crossed the bar, that very bar that Doris Johnson was stopped at, and took a seat in the House as a duly elected member. That woman was the then member for Yamacraw, the now Dame Janet Bostwick, who made history when she broke what up to then seemed a stubborn barrier and led the way for every woman parliamentarian elected thereafter. But we must never forget that it was the courage and bold agitation of the suffragettes, Mary Ingram, Albertha Isaacs, Virginia Lockhart, Mabel Walker, Georgiana Simonet, Doris Johnson, amongst others, and the full political support of the Progressive Liberal Party that precipitated the empowerment of women by the attainment of the franchise. The call for equal rights, however, made some 62 years ago, remains yet to be realized, as women continue to face discrimination in the form of unequal rights to that of our male counterparts under our Constitution. So the work is not yet done. And while tremendous advances have been made, women continue to be underrepresented in this House. This despite us making up half the population and more than half of the electorate. That statistical fact should give us pause, because it is in this legislature, the place of debate and lawmaking, that the social, economic, and cultural progress of our people is aired and decided, and the voices of women are few and far between. Women who in many instances head households, who are primary nurturers, who bear our children, who pay taxes, and decide our future by going to the polls in goodly numbers and electing governments. It is vital, therefore, to our children's future and the future of our nation, for generations yet unborn, that the voices of women be heard in this House, and for our energies, insights, and instincts, for our patriotic love to be seen and felt and made manifest in the forward progress of our people. But history is being made in a different way today. Should my motion carry, this will be the first time in Bahamian history that women will simultaneously lead both houses of Parliament, both the House and the Senate. So this is indeed a new day. From the day that Doris Johnson made her historic plea. I end by saying, we must never forget the journey from whence Bahamian women have come, and the farther we must go. The work is not yet done. I am confident that the women elected to this Parliament will bring informed debate, will serve with integrity, and bring a qualitative presence to public life. And I believe the member-elect for Bamboo Town will preside over these proceedings with sound, stellar, and fair leadership. I urge the support of this House in electing her to that chair. I so move.
Is there a seconder? Okay.
Yes.
Honorable members, it is with immense gratitude and appreciation to God, my family, the wonderful people of Elizabeth, the Prime Minister and MP for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, the Progressive Liberal Party, and my encouraging team of supporters that I am honored to stand here today as the first female member of Parliament for the Elizabeth constituency. I rise in this honorable chamber with the understanding that the most sacred democratic tradition in the world has made it possible for me to stand here in this legislative body and at this specific time in our nation's history. I do not take this opportunity lightly, and I therefore promise to serve to the best of my ability. Honorable members, the recently concluded general elections is historic for many reasons. Aside from the magnitude of victory by the PLP and the observation that both the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister represent Family Island constituencies, the general elections of 2021 have also ushered in the largest number of women into elective legislative office in our nation's history. It is important to note that the increasing number of females in elective office is not occurring exclusively in the Bahamas. Indeed, in many spaces around the world and regionally, the number of women in elective legislative office is on the rise. In the United States of America, the Speaker of the House of Representatives is a female. In Jamaica, a female was elected Speaker of the House of Assembly after a record-setting 18 females were elected to office. In Trinidad and Tobago, after a history-making 12 women were elected to the House of Representatives, a female was elected to serve as Speaker. Honorable members, it has been 60 years since women gained the right to vote in the Bahamas. It has been 39 years since the first female in the person of the Honorable Janet Boswick was elected to this chamber. It has been 24 years since a female in the person of the Honorable Rome Italia Johnson has headed this body. The time has now come for another female to serve as Speaker. Bearing in mind all that I have said, it is with great pride that I rise to second the nomination of the member of the Bamboo Town constituency, Patricia DeVoe, as the 54th Speaker of this honorable chamber. My relationship with the member of Bamboo Town goes back several years, and I can honestly say that she has been preparing for this role for quite some time. As the chief officer and the highest authority in the House of Assembly, I am certain that the member for Bamboo Town will always discharge her duties with impartiality. In electing the member for Bamboo Town as Speaker, this chamber is recognizing the diversity and everyday realities of the wider Bahamian society, as many of our households are headed by women. As women legislators, we represent the aspirations of every young Bahamian girl. This is an awesome responsibility and one that we must always remember. We nominate Patricia DeVoe for Speaker not as a form of tokenism, but as recognition that the member for Bamboo Town is prepared and fully capable of leading this body. Honorable members, as I look around this chamber, I see many new faces, myself included. In fact, more than 60% of the members in this session are first-time representatives. This observation tells us that our people want change in so many areas. In an age when many voters have become disillusioned with the political process, we who have been elected must deliver. Now more than ever before, we must use this body to pass laws that address the concerns of our nation and truly uplift our people. Let us therefore commit to serving with pride, transparency, accountability, and with the understanding that it is about the people we represent in our various constituencies and indeed throughout our country. Honorable members, It is with these few words that I proudly second the nomination of the member for Bamboo Town as Speaker. Indeed, a new day has come.
It has been moved and seconded that the member for Bamboo Town be elected Speaker. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The member for Bamboo Town has been elected Speaker. Let's go.
Yola! Governor! Royal salute! Present! Governor! Yola! Order! Good morning, Your Excellency. Chief Superintendent of Police, Anthony Curtis, reports the 2021 opening of Parliament Guard of Honor, comprising of 4 units under my command. The combined Royal Bahamas Police and Defense Force Band under their respective directives. Superintendent Selden Adley and Force Chief Matthew Rowe. The parade stands at the open order and awaits Your Excellency's inspection. Your Excellency, may I have your permission to stand fast, number 1 unit, and the remainder stand at ease. Stand fast!
Good morning, honorable members. I'd like to read 2 brief scriptures. The first is from Luke chapter 22, verse 2.
Good morning again, and we're back coming to you live from Bahama Convention Center, where an historic day is happening, the opening of a new parliament. Right now, I'm Lindsay Thompson, Bahamas Information Services, and next to me is our co-host, Dr. Kendall Major, former Speaker of the House of Assembly. Dr. Major, what we are seeing now is His Excellency, the Governor General, inspecting the guard and a royal salute.
Yeah, this is, again, there's so many moving parts. A lot is going on at the same time. The Governor General is expecting the honor guard with the assistance of the Commissioner of Police and also the Commodore of the Defense Force. And this is a traditional thing that we've done in the pomp and pageantry of opening a parliament. And as you can see, he's strutting along doing his thing. At the same time, the chaplain of the House of Assembly, Pastor Dave Burrows, is bringing exhortation and prayers for the newly elected Speaker and newly elected members of the House. As soon as he finishes the prayers, then we will hear from the Speaker in her maiden speech.
Yes.
Before requesting an audience with the Governor General in the precincts of the Senate, which is where we are to hear the speech from the floor.
Yes, and as we can see, if, our audience, if you're watching, such precision, as Dr. Major mentioned, you can see the Governor General, he's been escorted by the top brass of both the Defense Force and the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And so this is a part where we can see the police force and the defense force in full form.
Full form, fully regained.
Look at the attire. The uniforms are crisp, white. Everything is in place. Look at our female Marines.
Yes.
Okay, I got to keep talking with the girls today.
Yeah, absolutely, they are looking very, very resplendent and very sharp. It turns out to be a beautiful day.
Yeah,
it's
I
nice,
can see a
sunny,
balmy breeze.
Yes.
The palm trees are swaying.
Yes.
Befitting of such a time as this.
Absolutely.
When, they're fully regaled, and I'm sure it might be a little hot under the collar because of the weather. But we can see there's a light breeze blowing, and the Governor General, he's having a conversation with a woman Marine just now. And so this is like the pride and joy of the military.
Yes. This is when they showcase what they could do, the precision, their attire, and their discipline in service. And so I'm sure Governor General enjoys this, and they too enjoy, particularly like you said, when he stops by one or two of the Marines and have a short conversation.
And this is so steeped in tradition.
Yes.
We've seen this play over and over. We've seen this all the way London. We've seen Her Majesty the Queen.
In fact, this is a great tourist attraction in London to see that they call this the changing of the guards.
Yes.
And they do this quite often. We do it here also.
And we do it here at Government House
and of
as
course
well.
We see it in London, yes.
And so the Governor General, who is the Queen's representative here, with the Bahamas being a British Commonwealth nation, and so we still carry out most of our traditions. Our parliamentary system, our Westminster system, is fashioned after that. Most of what we do and say is a mixture of our ancestors, African, and our tradition from the Westminster system, our governance, our structure for the most part. And so when you look at something like this, inspection of the honor guard, this is really, really the epitome of the armed forces. They're most disciplined.
Yes.
Can you imagine something's irritating you? You have to stand.
That's right.
You have to stand your guard.
Yes, and this is quite a spectacle.
Yes,
and is quite a bit of them, and he's making his way slowly into the precincts, and there's still a lot of cameras out there. Persons are enjoying this. This is a Bahamian tradition like none other. We enjoy pomp and pageantry.
Don't we? We love our armed forces, especially.
Guard of honor! Shoulder! Guard of honor! Royal salute! Present! Guard of honor! Slowly! Order!
Citizens in an independent Bahamas the right to exercise their freedom of assembly and association. This year marks our 292nd year of unbroken parliamentary tradition. For this, we can be justly proud. As we have reassembled in this new day, although differently constituted, I would like to recognize that today is an historic day of many. As a result of the ongoing health pandemic, we have opened Parliament away from the historic halls of Parliament Square. Honorable members, today I have the privilege of being the second female in Bahamian history and the first female appointed by a Progressive Liberal Party majority to preside as the chairperson of this honorable assembly. For that, I am eternally grateful. Before I commence my charge, I crave your indulgence to allow me, firstly, to thank the Creator of this universe for his tender mercies, love, and redemption. I sincerely extend gratitude to the wonderful constituents of Bamboo Town for the confidence they have reposed to me to represent them during this electoral cycle. I would like to thank the honorable member for Cat Island, Rum Key, and San Salvador, and my parliamentary colleagues for your vote of confidence in elevating me to this distinguished office in this parliamentary institution. Lastly, but certainly not least, to my daughter, family, and friends, thank you for your patience, understanding, and benevolence. It is with deep sense of humility that I accept my appointment to the office of Speaker. I shall endeavor to continue the tradition of dignity and honor that has marked this office. I will seek to prove myself worthy of my office. I will aim as high as I can to maintain the decorum, respect, dignity, and fidelity in the proceedings of this honorable House. I assure you that I will claim from His Excellency all of those ancient rights and privileges that have been historically afforded to members of Parliament. These rights and privileges extend beyond those of ordinary citizens, particularly the privilege of freedom of speech. I would urge honorable members not to abuse these privileges. I intend to protect the privileges of this House and of members so that they can enjoy almost unfettered freedom to speak on behalf of Bahamians. And I caution you not to abuse these rights. We cannot afford any slippage in any of those areas if we intend to advance the institution. I will be naming the sessional committees in short order. I wish to remind the honorable members that these committees are a part of the construct of the institution. They play a very important role in the overall functioning of the legislative branch of our parliamentary democracy. There is much work to be done. After they would have been appointed, each committee will be expected to carry out its mandate. Members, I have come to discover across the Commonwealth nations that there is a speaker's tradition of being fair to minorities. A tradition that holds steadfast to the notion that we are all equal and the equality of our voices through collective responsibilities can revive, redirect, and rebuild a robust and responsible parliament, recognizing the fundamental ideals associated with the corporate governance. As Speaker, I intend to maintain this ancient tradition, as it is my hope that notwithstanding our partisan opinions, this Parliament will create better relations with each other while tabling the affairs of the people in order to create progressive and transformative recommendations which will ultimately enhance legislative change. While the Chair is cognizant of the fact that the Executive is present in the Chamber to account to Parliament for its stewardship of the people's business, there will be an overarching principle that as far as possible, all members wear the same size cloak of honor, and based on that assumption, all members are to be treated equally. The business of this House will be conducted in an atmosphere of respect. I charge all members to be courteous and respectful to the Chair. I charge members to also be courteous and respectful to each other in the conduct of your debates. Honorable members, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to plague our nation, we owe a great debt to many who are not here, many who didn't live to see the sunrise on this new day. Therefore, it is our solemn duty to press forward. We must press forward with a determined zeal to continue the progress that this Parliament initiated when it was first convened in 1729, which was never broken from this very chair. Their voices have all charged parliamentarians to deliver security, prosperity, and to recognize the abiding respect for the rule for our common humanity. From the depths of the greatest health crisis of our time, we must coordinate our response to avoid further catastrophe in the hope of steering our country in a direction to heal our nation. This is important work. This is the good work that we were elected to do. Therefore, let's press forward and not backwards, upward with the confidence of creating bipartisan relations, onward to a firm belief that human dignity is the greatest respect we can afford our fellow constituents, and together. Holding hands, acknowledging that this, as imperfect as we are, we were made imperfectly perfect through our collective uniqueness. As your 55th Speaker, I wish to assure you that I will take my task very seriously, and I shall conduct the business of this House in a fair and unbiased manner. Each member should have received a package of documents containing very helpful information. A copy of the rules of procedures is in that package. I counsel you to acquaint yourselves with these rules, as I shall enforce them. I am not unmindful of the view that the Chamber is a political arena, and a degree of latitude will be extended to all members. It is not the intention of the Chair to stifle debates or to render them dull and lifeless, but do expect the Chair to allow the conduct of business of this Chamber to descend to a level of unacceptable mean. Disrespect for the Chair will in no way be tolerated. Honorable members, as a body, we are servants of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. As individuals, we are the servants of our constituents. We have a moral obligation to treat them with respect by embarking on every debate with sobriety and decorum. We have a moral obligation not only to show up for work, but to show up for work on time. I have every intention to start the business of this House on time every day. I have the assurance that the government is committed to ensuring the attendance of a sufficient number of members to form a quorum. For that, I am pleased. The time for the commencement of each meeting is set in the motion for suspension or adjournment. Let us make a concerted effort to honor this commitment. The elections are over, and while the people's decision cannot be favorable to everyone, we must bear in mind that it is the people's right to decide who will govern them over the next 5 years. The decision has been made. It's time now to get on with the people's business. I now take this opportunity to congratulate the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, the Honorable Philip Edward Brave Davis, for driving his party to victory during the elections held 16 September 21. I also wish to congratulate all members who were successful in their respective constituencies. Let us all look forward to this new parliamentary session with hope and determination to progressively enhance the quality of life for all and sundry. Thank you. The member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador. I am advised by the clerk that you seek permission to address the House. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is with considerable honor and pride I stand to congratulate you on your election as Speaker of our Honorable House, which has been in continuous existence as the Assembly of the Bahamian people for some 292 years, as has been mentioned before. This is one of the oldest parliaments in the world. I know that this is a moment replete with pride for you and your family. It is your achievement, but it's also an achievement for all Bahamians, as this Parliament, and it bears repeating again, for only the second time in our history, has chosen a woman to preside over its proceedings. You follow in the footsteps of Ms. Italia Johnson, and I'm proud to say another person of Cat Island descent, who in 1997 had the honor of being the first woman to be elected Speaker. And as the representative for Cat Island in this place, I warmly extend their congratulations, and we are proud of your accomplishment, and we have no doubt that you'll be balanced and judicious and rule with equanimity from the seat of your authority. Madam Speaker, a few moments ago, 39 members were sworn in as members of this House. Of this group, 24 are new to our Honorable House. At a time of great crisis, we should greet this infusion of new thinking, new perspectives, and new energy with the warmest of welcomes. It is indeed a very serious time to become a representative of the people, a time when our challenges are great and the needs of our people many. I congratulate all of our fellow members and pray that each one of us works hard and well for our constituents and for all Bahamians. We must all respect and honor the rules, customs, and practices that have guided the conduct of members of our House and ensure that democratic principles are fully entrenched in everything that we do. And as Madam Speaker is well aware, the political impartiality of the Speaker is one of the most important features of our system. Now that you have taken your solemn oath, and each and every member of the House should feel confident that you will deal with them fairly, and you've expressed that in your opening statements, and not to show any form of favoritism or partiality. In like manner, we are all obliged to demonstrate courtesy and respect for you and for your office. Madam Speaker, I hope that my years of parliamentary experience will allow me, when helpful, to guide the newer members and to offer to you, Madam Speaker, any wisdom gained from that experience, of course, without overstepping my role or overstepping or intruding on yours. Madam Speaker, on the 16th of September, the people of the Bahamas ushered in a new day. I would like to commend the Bahamian people for the peaceful, serious, and measured manner in which they exercise their democratic right. The Bahamians who sent us to the House to represent them did so with votes that were not, in many cases, easy to cast. In fact, to our regret, many of our fellow citizens who wished to vote were not able to, for various reasons. Nonetheless, the election last month did send a message. Bahamians said loud and clear that old answers are not the solutions we need to build a new future. And there's no time to waste. The day of reckoning is here. Problems that were postponed too long must now be confronted. Many of the choices which lie ahead will not be easy ones. But if we have the best interests and the dignity of the Bahamian people as our North Star, we will rise to the moment. Even as we move to stabilize the nation's finances, we need to invest in new healthcare capacity and to get our children back into classrooms that are safe for everyone. We need to build an economy that is dynamic and exciting enough to answer the doubts of every young Bahamian who wonder if their future can be built here. We have a moral imperative to transform opportunities in education and employment and ownership. We have to build for the future, even as we confront the present. In Parliament, the people rule through their representatives, but there is a higher power who would want us to act from a place of mercy, compassion, and humility. Let us pray that we reach that worthy aspiration. Madam Speaker, it will be our sacred responsibility in the House of Assembly to not just find an exit from existing crises, but to build a country that is stronger and more resilient. Let this be a time of renewal, a time when we come together with courage and with common purpose to define our nation's cause, a time to serve our people. And I emphasize, a time to serve our people, our country, and our God. May God bless you, Madam Speaker, bless all of us, and of course, may God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Honorable Member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador. Is that a communication that you would like to be tabled?
I will table, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Clerk, order that the document be brought up. Order that the document do lie on the table. I now invite honorable members to elect from among yourselves a member to be the Deputy Speaker. Honorable Member for South and Central Eleuthera.
Behalf of the resilient people of the great constituency of Central and South Eleuthera. First, I would like to thank God Almighty, my wife Delia, my family, the Honorable Prime Minister, members of the Progressive Liberal Party, my team members, and especially my constituents. As newly elected members of this chamber, we are not in this place by chance. It has been almost 40 years since the Progressive Liberal Party has represented the constituency of St. John's, now known as North Eleuthera. The then member was the Honorable Peter Bethel, who made great strides for the fishing industry in developing the communities in that constituency. The now member for North Eleuthera is a true example of how hard work, determination in building relationships leads to success. He has a tall task in rebuilding Eleuthera, but I am sure he is up for the challenge, and no doubt he will succeed. Eleuthera did indeed bring home twins, and I am excited to work along with my friend and my brother to bring back the glory days to Eleuthera with a renewed focus on family island affairs and development. Eleuthera will now get the focus and attention it has lacked for so long. It is indeed a new day. Madam Speaker, it is only then fitting that I rise to nominate the Honourable Member for North Eleuthera to the Deputy Speaker of the House.
Is there a seconder? Honourable Member for Central and South Apico.
Madam Speaker, I am humbled to rise from the Central and South Apico constituency. I'm here to serve my fellow Abiconians. I would like to thank my family, my team, particularly my fellow Abiconians for putting me in a place to bring Apico back from the ashes. We have been severely distressed. Our challenges are overwhelming, and I plan to stand and speak strong for my people. I rise to second the motion for Deputy Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honourable Member for North Eleuthera be elected Deputy Speaker of the House. As many are in favour will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The Honourable Member for North Eleuthera has been elected Deputy Speaker of the House. I congratulate the member for North Eleuthera and invite you now to bring brief remarks.
Good day. It is truly a new day. Although I am a man of very few words, I'm humbled and honored. Thank you for the privilege of addressing such a high-level and distinguished audience. It is with great pleasure that I accept this post as the Deputy Speaker of the House, and I will do my endeavor best to make sure that order is kept. And I warn you members, be careful. We are here to do the people's work, and you have to take the chip off your shoulder. It's not yellow, it's not red, it's not green. It's time to put the Bahamian people back into this Parliament House and make this a truly honorable house. I will do my endeavor best to make sure that order is kept, this distinguished house, and be fair to all individuals involved. I look forward to being your humble servant, and may God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honourable Member for North Eleuthera. I will now appoint the following members to be a committee to wait on His Excellency, the Governor General. The Honourable Member for Golden Gates, the Honourable Member for Central and South Eleuthera, and the Honourable Member for St. Barnabas. You will inform His Excellency that the House has proceeded to the election of its Speaker, and I, Patricia DeVoe, Member of Parliament for the Bamboo Town constituency, have been so elected. You will also advise His Excellency that the House desires to know when His Excellency will be pleased to receive members of the House of Assembly in the precincts of the Senate in the Convention Center at Bahamar.
Good morning again. Lindsay Thompson from Bahamas Information Services coming to you live from Bahamas Convention Center, where a new day is happening, the opening of a new parliament. And here with us, Dr. Kendall Major, former Speaker of the House of Assembly. Now, Dr. Major, we've just witnessed history in the making for the second time in our parliamentary history.
Yes, we have.
A female Speaker of the House of Assembly has been elected. Patricia Ann DeVoe, Member of Parliament for Bamboo Town. And in her remarks, she was forceful. She promised to do certain things, enhance legislative change. She urged MPs to put on a cloak of honor from members and be respectful to each other and respectful to the chair. How important is that?
Boy, she hit on all the key points that a speaker should begin their maiden speech with. She spoke about the need for absolute respect. Mm-hmm. She also mentioned that we need to start on time. That's no such thing as Bahamian time in the House of Assembly.
There shouldn't be.
And I agree with her wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. And so she will need to put measures in place right away.
Yes.
Get off to a good start. Mm-hmm. And I believe the deputy speaker that has been elected, Mr. Honorable Member Petty,
he has certainly put his foot down
already. So I think it's going to be a good team, a good mix, a good balance. Her speech was impressive.
Yes, it was.
She was strong. She knows her authority.
Yes,
and she recognizes that this is a new period, a new day, and a new opportunity for great things. And so, I'm very happy for both of them. I'm happy for this new parliament.
Yes.
And the Prime Minister, in his congratulatory remarks, alluded to the fact that she's the second speaker, with Roma Talia being the first female in 1997.
Yes.
And look how long ago that was.
We've come a long way, and women continue to make strides in our vibrant democracy.
Yes.
You know, let's go back. She really focused on two key elements which stood out in my mind. Cloak of honor, and be treated with respect, each other, and respect the chair.
Yes. That's important because the debates are passionate, but they ought to not be personal.
Right.
And in our attempt to use the English language to get our point across, some members in the past have resorted to personal attacks, unfounded statements, and that tends to put the speaker in a very unusual position, and that's where you will depend on her rulings to indicate, keep it within the rules, keep the boundaries. So remember, each member has the same rights as the other, and allow each member to be respectful to each other. That's something that, first of all, begins with personal integrity and personal responsibility, but the speaker's role there is to bring balance and to guide that through. So again, she's hit all the key points, and I'm looking forward to watching her leadership in guiding that through. So excited to see her in her element.
Now, you mentioned to me that you met with her.
Yes, I have.
You know, old meeting the new.
Yes.
So what was that conversation like?
That was a very good conversation. She appreciated that I reached out to her, and I thought it was fitting to give her to let her know that she has an ear to hear, someone who has sat where she has sat, and so I would I have experienced what she will come to experience, and one of the first things that she will experience is she will be lonely in her eminence. The speaker's role, if it's done correctly and appropriately, you're a friend to no one but a friend of all. And so you cannot show favoritism, you cannot show leanings to the party that brought you there. She's not a PLP anymore. She is the Speaker of the Honorable House of Assembly, which means she's the Speaker for all members. And that's an important role to play, that's an important designation, and she has to recognize that her boss is not the Prime Minister. Her boss is the people and the honor of the role of the office.
Now, we heard congratulatory remarks from the Prime Minister, who's the Member of Parliament for Cat Island. He too spoke about respect, honor of the rules, customs, and practices. Where is this coming from, and where do you think this train of thought is going, forward in Parliament?
The Prime Minister is a gentleman. He treats people with respect. That has been his past, and that has been his present, and so. It will be a refreshing change to see a parliament that is conducted with dignity and honor and mutual respect among its members. I look forward to seeing that day. It's a difficult task because, again, in the cut and thrust of debate, emotions get very high.
Yes.
And members get accused of certain things, some of which are founded and some are unfounded. But tact and diplomacy must always be the order of the day as we respect each other. And so that fine line has to always be met. And so the Speaker must be on alert always. If that happens, I think we'll have a wonderful Parliament.
So it seems as if we're all on the same page.
Yes.
The Speaker, her Deputy, and the Prime Minister.
Yes.
We're all talking about respect, rule of law,
discipline,
discipline, respecting each other as members of Parliament, and respecting the process, the proceeds, and the protocols of the Honourable House.
Yes, that's a tall task, but it's workable, and it's reachable, it's attainable, and so I like the start. I like the posture. And I'm sure the Prime Minister will give the Honourable Speaker and Deputy Speaker the space to conduct themselves and to do their duty. They must be independent. They must appear to be independent. They must exert their independence. And if that happens, I think the Parliament will continue to grow. And you'd mentioned also in the Honourable Speaker's remarks, she talked about increasing the respect for the Parliament, but also changes in Parliament, fundamental changes that would cause the Parliament to grow. And so committees should function greater. The institution should be deepened, and Parliament should become more independent than it is. And so I'm sure within the spirit of growth and the deepening of our democracy, we'll see good things in this Parliament.
And she also mentioned the high percentage of newbies, new members of Parliament, new people just in frontline politics, now in the House of Assembly. We've gone over some of these names. What can they expect? What do you think is going through their minds sitting in Parliament as we speak?
You know what's interesting about that? It is important that they get off to a good start. And one of the best ways for a newbie to start Parliament is to have training on parliamentary procedures. They don't understand. Parliamentary procedures is unlike no other. It is, Toastmasters is helpful, yes, and other debating chambers are helpful, but parliamentary decorum and parliamentary diplomacy is far different. And so there are books on that, books written, and they should understand the role and the responsibility of being a member of Parliament and parliamentary debates. The rules of procedure speak to that. She mentioned that in her speech.
Yes,
read it,
absolutely.
digest it. She will follow it. And if they follow that to the T, I think it'll be very helpful for them. one of the things that I would caution the newbies is to not get caught up in the moment and feel like we have to create this gang mentality.
Wow.
You see something happening and you see a member that's beating down another member with words, that is, and you feel like it's that tends to get out of hand.
Yes.
and it becomes disrespectful and it dishonors the debate. Words matter. And it's
Absolutely.
important that members of parliament use the right words. That's why study to show yourself approved. Learn the rules, learn parliamentary procedures. The cabinet members learn how a cabinet member ought to conduct themselves, learn the rules of the ministry so that they are able to conduct themselves and stay within the lines.
I'm speaking of learning and studying. Okay, once elections are over and we know who the members of parliament are or would be, what happens next? Is there a class or a study before we get to this point?
It is, and it should be. The Parliament is then responsible for having seminars. The Cabinet, the Secretary to the Cabinet and other permanent secretaries, the technical and the heads of departments would be able to expose the Cabinet ministers to the Cabinet procedures. I believe more should be done because unfortunately, in our country, we don't have a pecking order in political experience. We don't have a true local government in New Providence.
Right.
And so most of these members who are newbies in particular, this is going to be brand new world for them.
Yes.
So they got to learn fast. The curve is steep, but they have to learn fast and learn and get mentorship from the right people.
So tell us about your experience. That was your first rodeo.
My experience was I was baptized by fire. I was thrust into the cut and thrust of this is. But I tell you what, I was prepared. I think I was prepared because I had a clear vision and understanding of who I am as a person.
Okay.
I was grounded in my faith. And I recognized that my integrity will get me in and also see me safely out of the door. So you need a level of maturity, a level of direction, and a vision for your country. You should love people. You ought not be in this place unless you love people. And so, I was involved in the community. I was involved with my church. I was involved with leading in various areas throughout my life. And so leadership is a principle that doesn't change no matter where you go. And if you learn the correct leadership principles, you're able to find yourselves in unique situations and know how to handle yourself. My mentor in leadership, I was the late Dr. Miles Monroe, and he was a person that helped to confirm and understand and appreciate what true leadership is all about. And so, to that extent, I was prepared, although I was inexperienced.
Yes, understood. Now, a female speaker as opposed to a male speaker, what's the difference in terms of mandating and carrying out the mandate of the Speaker of the House of Assembly?
Actually, there's no difference. The only difference is Mr. Speaker or Madam Speaker.
Governance that the business of this Senate, whenever and wherever possible, be open to and conducted in the presence of as many people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as practicable. And whereas it is not convenient to convene the next session of Parliament in the City of Nassau as proclaimed in the said proclamation, be it now therefore resolved that this Senate adjourns to meet later today at such time and place, be it in the precincts of the Senate in the Convention Center at Bahama, or at such other place as is appointed by His Excellency, the Governor General.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the following resolution be agreed. Whereas it was appointed by proclamation dated 19th day of August 2021 that the Parliament of the Bahamas be dissolved and that the next session of Parliament be held in the city of Nassau and shall commence in the forenoon of Wednesday, 6th day of October 2021. And whereas it is the custom and tradition of this Senate that after being so assembled to wait on Her Majesty's representative, His Excellency, the Governor General, with their President. And whereas it is conducive to good and democratic governance that the business of this Senate, whenever and wherever possible, be open to and conducted in the presence of as many people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as practicable. And whereas it is not convenient to convene the next session of Parliament in the city of Nassau as proclaimed in the said proclamation, be it now therefore resolved that this Senate adjourns to meet later today at the same time and place, be it in the precincts of the Senate in the Convention Center at Bahamar or at such other place as is appointed by His Excellency, the Governor General. As many as are in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed. This meeting is adjourned. We will now proceed to the Convention Center at Bahamar to await the arrival of His Excellency.
All rise. We will leave in succession the clerks and Madam President, followed by the side to the right, and they'll be followed by the side to the left. Once the procedure in the chamber, in the convention center is completed, we will return here, all senators, we will return here to complete the business of the Senate.
today the halls of Parliament.
All rise for their excellencies, the Governor General and Lady Smith.
Pray be seated.
Good afternoon. We're coming live from Bahama Convention Center. I am Lindsay Thompson, Bahamas Information Services, and joining me all morning, he's still here, Dr. Kendall Major, former Speaker of the House of Assembly. Now, we're at the point where we're just about to hear from the Governor General to articulate the speech from the throne. Let's tell the public again what that entails.
Yeah, the speech from the throne is the agenda and the priority of the new government, and it's planned for the Bahamian people over the next, particularly during this sitting of Parliament. Interestingly enough, there's an opening of Parliament because of the fact that Parliament was dissolved or was prorogued.
Yes.
And during this Parliament, if the Prime Minister wants a new legislative agenda, he in his wisdom can also prorogue Parliament, and after that is prorogued, there will be a new sitting of the new opening of Parliament and a new reading from the speech reading from the throne. So that's a function of a new Parliament, or a prorogation of Parliament, not necessarily the fact that we have new persons. You see, we have a new Parliament because we have a newly elected Parliament.
I present myself, Your Excellency, as a humble object of their choice.
Thank you, Madam President. I congratulate you on your election to the office of President, of which a committee of the Senate was so good as to inform me earlier today.
May it please Your Excellency, I have now, in the name and on behalf of members of the Honorable Senate, to lay claim by humble petition to their ancient and undoubted rights and privileges, particularly that their persons may be free from arrest and molestation, that they may enjoy freedom of speech in all their debates, that they may have access to Your Excellency's person whenever occasion may require, and that all their proceedings may have Your Excellency's most favorable construction.
System of government.
And Dr. Major, and we imagine high on the agenda will be how to arrest this COVID health crisis that we're currently experiencing. Our healthcare systems are maxed, are at capacity. We still have the Samaritan's Purse and the overflow of the hospital, and so we're eagerly anticipating what.
You will proceed to the House of Assembly and command the immediate attendance upon me of the Honorable Speaker and the members of the Honorable House of Assembly.
COVID-19 crisis, and in my taking a quick peruse of the document, it speaks to the building of a new hospital. And a mammoth undertaking, but a necessary undertaking. We've seen the pictures of Princess Margaret Hospital, the water and the lack of resources and supplies and the challenges that we've been faced with at the Princess Margaret Hospital and the Ryan in Freeport. And so the government has drawn a line in the sand. Yes. We're going to build 2 new hospitals, Grand Bahama, and using private partners, private-public partnerships. And so that's a serious and a big commitment. And it shows the commitment of the government to dealing with COVID. And of course, how are we going to play this out? The Prime Minister often spoke about having the authority, the authority not being rested or vested in one person, to be the competent authority for, but to remove that and delegate that to a committee.
Absolutely, because I'm sure he's grappling with the need for continued emergency orders.
Exactly.
We understand that certain things had to happen for us to get a grip on what was going on, even globally. But as we can see, and he's trying to get to the point where there's the right balance.
Exactly.
The economy, when you see orders,
right.
and normalcy. So I can't imagine sitting down and trying to formulate, to get that done based on what's been happening over the past year and a half.
Yeah, the priorities are very complex, and it's not as simple as just shut the country down, and there's welfare and then there's well-being, and we have to balance both. And so I think he would be depending on the experts. On data, on research. What are the experts saying, and how can we mitigate this and still allow the economy to function and to thrive? I remember when nobody moved, nobody get hurt, and then yet COVID was up and COVID was down, but now we're still kind of slowly getting to a semblance of normalcy, but yet COVID is still with us. So we expect more to be done, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from the speech from the throne.
Well, I'm sure the Bahamian public, they're just anticipating. I know we've heard some of that already, but when you hear it in this context, speech from the throne, a new parliament, we know that's the word going forward.
Exactly.
We know that from this point, definitely that's the word going forward.
Yeah, so this would be an exciting time, but very, very difficult times. And wow, what a wonderful opportunity this government has to really make a substantial difference, a shift. We need a shift in our governance and our leadership, and in our direction.
Blueprint for change.
Blueprint for change. And that sounds familiar. I think that was one of the campaign booklets. Yeah, so that's consistent with everything.
So we see right off the bat, healthcare. We have a new Ministry of Health and Wellness. So you bring the two together. It said you cannot balance health and not talk about
October
wellness.
2021, and whereas it was appointed by the said proclamation that this honorable House, after being duly constituted by the election of members thereto, should meet on the 6th day of October 2021, and whereas it is not convenient to convene the next session of Parliament in the city of Nassau as proclaimed in the said proclamation, and whereas it is the custom and tradition of this House that after being so constituted, to inform Her Majesty's representative, His Excellency the Governor-General, of that fact, and to know when he will be pleased to receive the Honorable House with its Speaker. And whereas it is conducive to good and democratic governance, that the business of this House, whenever and wherever possible, be open to and conducted in the presence of as many citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as practicable, and whereas His Excellency the Governor-General has summoned the attendance of members of the House of Assembly to the precincts of the Senate in the Convention Center at Bahama, be it now therefore resolved that this Honorable House do now adjourn to meet immediately in the precincts of the Senate in the Convention Center at Bahama, as is commanded by His Excellency the Governor-General, where he will receive the Honorable House with his Speaker. I so move.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the following resolution be agreed. Whereas it was appointed by proclamation dated the 19th day of August 2021 that the Parliament of the Bahamas be dissolved, and that the next session of Parliament be held in the city of Nassau and shall commence in the forenoon of Wednesday, 6th day of October 2021. Be it now therefore resolved that this honorable House do now adjourn to meet immediately in the precincts of the Senate in the Convention Center at Bahama, as is commanded by His Excellency, the Governor-General, where he will receive his honorable House with its Speaker. As many are in favor will remain seated, those opposed will stand. The resolution has been agreed. All rise.
The kind of prime minister we can anticipate, or the kind of man he is. You know, he's kind, he's generous, compassionate.
Exactly.
So those are the adjectives that's been following our prime minister throughout his career or his life so far. And so bringing that to the table and what we will hear today from the speech from the throne, surely that is where his thought process is in terms of taking the country to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Couldn't say it better myself. I think he is consistent with who he is, and I think you're seeing his personality in his cabinet. You're seeing it in his selection of various areas, and his focus. And the speech from the throne will speak to that. You know, so go the prime minister, kind of so go the cabinet, and so go the government. So the prime minister has to set the tone. I believe the Honourable Philip Brave Davis is seeking to set the tone and create this hopeful expectation and this idea that we can overcome.
Speaking of that word hopeful, in that, what does that mean to the Bahamian people?
You know, Bahamian people are flat out tired, and and they're hurting, and they're losing hope, and they are apathetic in many respects. I use that word apathetic because when it speaks to the low, one of the reasons there was low voter turnout in the general election. The scientists will do their research and figure that out. But certainly there was a level of apathy, and apathy comes from my vote doesn't count. It doesn't make a difference. Y'all don't care about me. That has to change. And that comes from empathy, compassion, love for people, and you'll see it in your focus and your priority. What is your priority as a government? If this particular government's focus is on people, we'll see it in the policies. That's going to build a hope. That's going to build a trust. Of course, trust comes from a little more.
Yes.
You say what you mean, you do what you say, and a strength of character that the Prime Minister must show in managing his cabinet and managing his government, the discipline that comes. But you put those two together, that builds hope. And people will then join you in this ride, because it's going to be a tough time for us, you know. It's not going to be easy.
Absolutely. We've seen it. We've all felt it. And then once we got the returns from the general election, and then ushering of the new cabinet and swearing in of the cabinet ministers, you know, the Prime Minister explained, we have a lot to do. We have a lot to do.
All hands on deck.
And it's going to take this amount of people to get the job done. We've already started. And so we're going to hear all of that reinforced in the speech from the throne today. COVID measures, new COVID measures, or relaxed COVID measures to take us forward. The economy, we're going to hear something about that in the speech from the throne. And so hope is vibrant. I mean, look at this room today.
This is amazing. This is amazing. And I think that there's a sense of hope in the air. And again, the honeymoon is short, and let's get to work.
Okay, and we'll take a break from there. Thank you. So we'll take you to the Senate.
Thank you.
May it please Your Excellency, in the exercise of their undoubted rights and privileges, and in accordance with Article 50, subsection 1 of the Constitution, the Honorable House of Assembly have proceeded to the election of a Speaker, and I present myself to Your Excellency as the humble object of their choice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I congratulate you on your election to the office of Speaker, of which a committee of the House was so good as to inform me earlier today.
May it please Your Excellency, I have now, in the name and on behalf of members of the Honorable House of Assembly, lay claim by humble petition to the ancient and undoubted rights and privileges, particularly that their person may be free from arrest and molestation, that they may enjoy freedom of speech in their debates, that they may have access to Your Excellency's person whenever occasion may require, and that all their proceedings may receive Your Excellency's most favorable construction.
Your Excellency, speech on the throne.
Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, just 22 years ago, 22 days ago, my government was elected with a mandate to bring about a new day in our Bahamas. It is clear from the results of the election that Bahamians demand transformational change. My government comes into governance with our country in the midst of a mismanaged health and economic crisis. My government is committed to work in partnership with other nations, with our local communities, and, most importantly, with the Bahamian people to address the challenges that these crises pose. Today, my government proposes our blueprint for change. My government is committed to executing good governance established on the principles of transparency, integrity, and accountability. My government will consult and be inclusive in our decision-making. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, My government fully understands that we cannot resolve our country's economic crisis until we have resolved the health crisis. The COVID-19 crisis has exposed many of the weaknesses and vulnerabilities of our health care system. As a first priority, my government will therefore introduce legislation and policies to fully address future major health risks to avoid the need for emergency orders. My government will make investments in healthcare infrastructure throughout the Bahamas and ensure that family island clinics are properly equipped, inclusive of the capacity for telemedicine. My government will build new hospitals in New Providence and Grand Bahama through public-private partnerships. My government will prioritize public health and wellness initiatives and will move more aggressively to introduce catastrophic health care insurance to make health care more affordable and to address the mental health issues in our country. My government also recognizes, applauds, and expresses its gratitude to the doctors, the nurses, other frontline workers, and volunteers for their meritorious and selfless service during this pandemic. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, the present economic crisis has left a trail of unprecedented misery among the Bahamian people and our public finances in a dismal state. But despite this bleak outlook, my government will introduce measures that will bring immediate relief to the Bahamian people and to businesses. My government will amend the VAT Act to lower the rate of VAT across the board to 10%. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government will focus on issues that will rescue, restore, and strengthen the economy. My government will pursue strategies to address infrastructural needs of the country. My government will pursue measures to stabilize public finances and increase public revenue. My government will implement a debt management plan to address the historic debt burden and deficit. My government will amend the Procurement Act to strengthen provisions for Bahamians' participation in government procurement at all levels. My government will amend the Fiscal Responsibility Act to strengthen the independence of the Fiscal Responsibility Council. My government will amend the Public Financial Management Act to ensure full compliance with all existing legislation. My government will amend the Commercial Enterprises Act to ensure that when jobs are being filled, Bahamians receive the highest priority. My government will also introduce measures to encourage renewable energy industries in solar, wind, wave, and ocean thermal energy. My government recommits the Bahamas to a minimum reliance on renewable energy by 30% by 2030. My government will introduce a merchant shipping bill to bring our jurisdiction in line with its international obligations and to enhance our competitive edge in the global maritime industry. My government will promote Grand Bahama to harness the power of the maritime industry. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government strongly commits to introducing a number of initiatives to support the growth and development of the cultural and creative economy. My government will introduce measures to employ Junkanoo culture and the visual performing arts to drive exports in music, costumes, and art. My government will relaunch and formalize the Sports in Paradise program to encourage major international sports federations and leagues to use the Bahamas as a base. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government is committed to achieving greater food security and reducing our reliance on imports as a matter of priority. My government will introduce a regulatory framework for the cannabis industry. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government will introduce legislation to facilitate a comprehensive program of digitization for the country. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government will restructure the Bahamas Investment Authority to streamline application processes and develop a new marketing strategy. My government will consult with key stakeholders and appropriately amend legislation to provide increased tax incentives and concessions for domestic investors. My government will transform approval processes and launch Bahamas Invest to retain competitiveness and mobilize local and international investors to grow the economy. My government will return tourism to pre-COVID levels by harnessing existing markets. My government will develop an investment portfolio for the Family Islands to promote an investor-friendly environment with a focus on an investment portfolio for specialized industries. My government will undertake infrastructural upgrades throughout all of the islands of the Bahamas in an effort to create investment portfolios. My government will expand the provision of potable water and implement a national strategy for the management of water as a natural resource. The government will introduce a new and progressive building code to increase resilience in the face of climate change. The government will expedite the development of the airports in Exuma, Grand Bahama, and North Eleuthera, and will advance the development of all major airports across the Bahamas through public-private partnerships. Madam President, and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, even as we vigorously pursue avenues of progress throughout our country, my government is mindful that we will not leave behind the most vulnerable or discouraged people in our society. My government will enhance social assistance programs. My government, in collaboration with the private sector and non-governmental organizations, will implement immediate relief measures for Abaco, Grand Bahama, and Ragged Island. Through partnerships with social services, urban renewal, and civil society, including the churches, my government will work to ensure that every Bahamian has life skills, food to eat, clean water, and a roof over their heads. My government will increase the pension for senior citizens. My government will increase the benefits for persons with disabilities and ensure that the provisions of the Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunities Act are fully implemented and enforced. My government will introduce legislation for the protection of consumers. And my government will increase the minimum wage and phase in a livable wage. My government will reintroduce the RISE program, which provided substantial benefits to many families. My government will work with all stakeholders to bring relief to mortgage and rent payers to prevent an increase in and reduce homelessness. My government will introduce legislation to provide for the establishment of an urban renewal authority to improve the quality of life for residents throughout the Bahamas. My government will create a national second chance jobs program that allows those who have served prison time to enter the job market. And as a part of the Second Chance program, my government will expunge the records of those young people convicted of minor offenses related to the use of marijuana so that they may more easily rejoin the formal, productive economy. Madam President, and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government is fully committed to ensuring that the citizens of the Bahamas feel safe and secure and will address crime and its associated social ills by adopting a holistic and multifaceted approach. My government will continue to strengthen the Royal Bahamas Police Force to battle crime and preserve the peace, and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force to better defend our territorial sovereignty. My government will transform the Bahamas Correctional Services into a rehabilitative institution in alignment with its mandate. My government, after the broadest consultation with stakeholders, will seek to reform the electoral process in the Bahamas. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government is fully committed to ensuring that our economy works for all Bahamians. And so my government will amend the Hotels Encouragement Act to provide better incentives for Bahamian-owned and joint venture boutique hotels and related tourism offerings. My government will introduce legislation to create tax incentives for small and medium-sized enterprises owned by Bahamians. My government will reestablish harmonious relations between labor, employers, and the government. My government will ensure that all labor issues are addressed as a matter of priority. My government will advance the overall effectiveness of the public service through the expansion of training programs to assist in proper skill set placement, customer service, and revenue enhancement, also by implementing digitization to provide efficiency in clearing backlogs within the Ministry and Public Service Commission. In handling the accumulation of pending matters, my government will create room for new matters to be addressed immediately and consistently. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker and honorable members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government considers housing to be a basic right, and through programs and policies, it will increase access to affordable homes. New subdivisions will be developed using public-private partnerships. My government will return to building houses for Bahamians. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government will work to ensure that the natural resources of the Bahamas benefit our people. My government will strengthen legislation that established a sovereign wealth fund. My government proposes that all of our non-financial assets will be held in this fund for the benefit of generations of Bahamians. My government will provide the legal, fiscal, and regulatory framework with the creation of the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment. My government will secure carbon credit payments for our natural resources. Madam President, and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government strongly reaffirms that universal and equitable access to quality education is key to our national development and to the fulfillment of each person's potentiality. My government is fully committed to support every young person in overcoming obstacles to digital learning and to restore in-person lessons as soon as it is safe and practical with health guidance. My government will also establish programs for monitoring and assisting high school dropouts so that immediate action is taken to ensure they continue to contribute to society as productive citizens. My government will introduce measures to expand the curriculum offerings and incorporate educational models that build character, promote self-esteem, foster good citizenship for a deeper understanding and appreciation of our history. My government will ensure that the gap in access to education caused by COVID-19 prevention protocols is closed with a comprehensive remediation program to ensure that no child is left behind. My government will create magnet schools and specialty institutes for science, technology, engineering, the visual and performing arts, mathematics, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. My government will amend the Education Act to provide for universal pre-primary education for 3- and 4-year-olds. Will consolidate the National Accreditation and Equivalency Council of the Bahamas and the Preschool and Daycare Council and specify homeschool modalities. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, the good health and well-being of our youth is of prime concern to my government, and so my government will invest in their development, encourage and support their participation in national life, and provide and promote opportunities for their future. My government will create national programs that tackle new threats to the well-being of young people, including issues of mental health, lack of self-confidence and identity, excessive social media consumption, and national identity and unity. My government will create a national first job program that allows young people between the age of 16 to 25 to gain a 1-year government-subsidized placement in a field of national priority, including the new economies and trade. My government will launch the Community Youth Service and offer stipends for young Bahamians to provide service to NGOs and community groups. This can build a vital bridge between school and the job market. My government will establish a National Youth Guard in order for young people to receive technical training, enabling them to serve in a disaster response corps. Madam President, honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, My government will capitalize on the ongoing successes of the industrial sector on Grand Bahama and use the investment arm of the Ministry for Grand Bahama to create a one-stop shop to attract new local and direct foreign investment by way of duty-free concessions across the entire island. Family island affairs and local government are priorities for my government. My government will develop strategic plans for each island. My government will work towards the finalization of a local government act for New Providence. My government will empower local government with revenue-raising powers and shared jurisdiction over local affairs and community management and development. My government will increase the budget for local government councils during our 5-year term. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, my government will not tolerate corruption and is committed to introducing effective anti-corruption legislation. My government will govern for the many, not for the few. And promote the best interests of Bahamians and the Bahamas. My government will increase accountability and transparency. My government will fully implement the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act. Measures will be introduced to amend the rules of the House of Assembly to enable fixed sessions of Parliament. My government will pursue a foreign policy that promotes and upholds our founding principles of democracy, human rights, and non-interference. My government will strengthen its engagement with the international community, becoming more strategic and deliberative in our participation in regional and international organizations. And in collaboration with neighboring countries, my government will work to strengthen our maritime borders and seek regional solutions to common issues such as migration. My government will deepen our relations with our bilateral and international partners and bring focused attention to the promotion of trade and investment and the provisions of technical assistance. My government will expand its reach in the global community by opening consulates and embassies, including the appointment of honorary consuls and non-resident envoys in key areas of the world to ensure that our interests are promoted and protected. Madam President and honorable senators, Madam Speaker, and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, these are the policies and plans upon which my government will legislate in order to bring about a new day in the Bahamas. We look forward to working in partnership with the Bahamian people to bring about a healthier, wealthier, and wiser society. I pray that the blessings of Almighty God may rest upon your councils. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. We're still here for this historic day, opening of Parliament at Bahama Convention Center. Here with us, Dr. Kendall Major, former Speaker of the House of Assembly. I'm Lindsay Thompson from Bahamas Information Services. We have just heard His Excellency, the Governor General, articulate the speech from the throne. Impressive, vast plans and goals this new government is talking about, has already started to usher in. We hear things like COVID-19 relief, new hospital, VAT reduction to 10%, new infrastructure, sports and culture, food security, and the list goes on. Dr. Major, what is your impression of the speech from the throne today?
I think, Lindsay, what stood out to me is that all significant points that touches people at their kitchen table.
Yes.
is included in this speech. It
The
touches
small
the
man.
small man.
Yes.
It touches the grandmother. It
Everyone.
touches the wealthy. It touches the poor.
So no one is left behind.
No one is left behind. This is an all-inclusive speech from the throne. It is very thoughtful. It's complex to the extent that it will demand a very busy legislative agenda.
Absolutely.
This government is saying to the world, is saying to the Bahamas, we have work to do, and we're going to get to work starting next week. And I was very interested to hear that the dates of the Parliament
Yes.
will be listed, so there will be no surprises to the press, and so it gives you time to prepare. And all of the areas, the new hospital, oh my, that's going to be great for Grand Bahama and New Providence. And all of the focus on young people, the focus on the economy, many areas of this speech is transformative.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm excited about it.
I love the opening statement. I think the opening statement encapsulated exactly what the entire speech was about. 22 days ago, just 20 days ago, the government was elected with a mandate to bring about a new day in our Bahamas. It is clear from the results of the election that Bahamians demand transformational change. And when you go through the rest of the speech, the blueprint for change is there. Everything the government wants to do is articulated in the speech from the throne. I'm sure the Bahamians who heard this, they were
No doubt. Excited.
Hopeful, right?
Hopeful.
Still hopeful.
Yeah.
I'm caught up in the emotion, But yeah, hopeful. We're talking about food security, tourism, minimum wage.
Minimum wage, absolutely. Minimum wage will be improved and will be advanced. What we used to call old age pension.
Yes.
For the elderly.
Increase in
will
old
be
age pension.
increased.
Yes.
VAT will be decreased 10%, 2% from 12 to 10. Second chance for persons that have served offenders. Legislation to reform the agenda of the marijuana industry, cannabis industry. Many areas of this touches a lot of vast areas of our economy and our country, and I think the Bahamian people have a lot to look forward to. And the word I started when we started this program this morning was we needed hope. This is a hopeful agenda for our country and for our people.
Absolutely. It touches all facets of society, all facets of Bahamians. He took the speech to where Bahamians, where they're at, like you say, in the kitchen, on the baseball field, in the classroom, at the grocery store, looking for investment. Concessions, duty-free concessions. We're still trying to rebuild from Hurricane Dorian. Grand Bahama, duty-free concessions, I'm sure that went over well with Grand Bahamians. Abaco is still trying to rebuild from Hurricane Dorian as well. Freedom of Information Act, access to information, and that we've been grappling with that for some time.
We have.
The act has been passed, but it needs to be enacted. It needs to be live and living and breathing, so we can have access to information that impacts us all. And this is exciting. Tourism. We've been trying to bounce back from the COVID-19 pandemic, of course. So even tourism is on the drawing board for our total blueprint.
And sports in paradise.
Absolutely.
Under the leadership of the former Minister of Sports, under the former PLP, was Dr. Danny Johnson. And he really made that come alive in sports tourism. We will see a resurgence of that under Mario Bolag, and I expect to see a number of baseball teams and basketball teams here, track and field, because we have the best in the world. What a mecca!
We are an attractive destination not only for tourism, but for sports tourism. Our close proximity to the United States, our weather, lends itself to practicing for all sorts of sports, and so we're ripe for that. We need to to get going.
Just get going. Yes, it's just
all
so
hands
much
on
in
deck.
there. This is what we call a meaty speech.
Yes, all hands on
A
deck.
lot of stuff, a lot of good things in
Meat,
there.
gravy, peas and rice.
A whole 9 yards.
Everything, the whole
Not
Sunday
a lot of
dinner.
fluff. It was a lot of meat in there. And it touches, the downtrodden. It touches the least among us.
Yes.
It touches the prisoners. The Bible talks about, what have you done for me? Did you feed me? Did you clothe me? Did you visit me while I was in prison? It touches all those persons who have been disenfranchised and owe a debt or debt to society. This is a transformative agenda, I believe, and if it's followed, which I believe it will, I see good things for our country and our people.
Absolutely, Bahamas. It is certainly a new day. And with that, we end. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. We're back for a short while longer. We're coming to you live from the Bahama Convention Center, where for the past 4 hours and some, we were tuned into the opening of Parliament, an historic day here in the Bahamas, following our September 16th general election. And I'm Lindsay Thompson from Bahamas Information Services, and our guest who so graciously said yes, our former Speaker of the House of Assembly, Dr. Kendall Major. And I tell you, a wealth of knowledge. If you were tuned in today, he was in that green chair for 5 years, and so he was a wealth of knowledge for us today. Dr. Major, we thank you so much. What is your last words on what transpired from start to finish when you hear all that took place today?
I think we've followed the traditions of our forefathers, and through it shows the transfer of power from one regime to the next in a peaceful and an orderly fashion. And the pomp and pageantry of the speech from the throne and the opening of Parliament is significant to our trajectory. The speech from the throne was powerful. I thought it was transformative. I thought it was hopeful. And I think it brought to make the Bahamian people all and sundry to be proud that a new day is here and a new day has dawned. And with the new Speaker in Parliament, I will be certainly praying for her and assisting her as best as I can if called upon. And so I am encouraged by what I've seen today.
Absolutely.
And this has been a wonderful ceremony and a wonderful time for our country. And I certainly enjoyed being a co-host with you today.
Same here, it is definitely a new day that was articulated from start to finish. And the speech from the throne, like you said, it really touched every facet of the Bahamian economy, every person, man, woman, boy, and girl. So we can look forward to tapping into this new day, this new economy, this blueprint for change that has been articulated in the speech from the throne. And so with that, Bahamas, again, we thank Dr. Kendall Major, our former Speaker of the House of Assembly, who really brought it home to us with his wealth of knowledge and experience. And with that, from Bahamas Information Services, we're leaving you from the Bahama Convention Center, where we've just concluded the opening of Parliament. It's a new day, Bahamas, and we wish you a good evening. Farewell.